Hi and welcome back. In this video we're going to add logging to our scraping app, just so you get a bit better of an idea of how to add logging to an application like this. By the way, I always recommend adding logging as you start your application and not add the logging all at the end like we've done here. When you start, as you develop, you can add logging and it'll make more sense. Once you're done, you sort of lose a bit of the bigger picture, and sometimes adding logging can be a bit more tricky. So by all means, add the logging while you develop, not all at the end. But nonetheless, in order to save you time, not to add logging every video and so forth, we add it all at the end here. But again, don't do this normally. The first thing we have to do is to import the logging module, and then we're going to configure the logging module. So we're going to do logging.basicconfig, and then in here we're going to pass in format, which is going to be the format of the logger. And this is in old Python string format syntax. You've seen this before, I've showed you this earlier. And what we're going to do is print out the current time and the current level, like debug or info and so forth. But this is always going to be 8 characters long, so that the longest level, critical, will be the same width as the shortest level, info. They're all going to be 8 spaces, and it's just going to pad with spaces at the end. Then we're going to add the file name. By the way, the S at the end just means string. It's just Python's way of assuring that what we're printing out here are strings. D is for number. And finally, we're going to add the message, which is going to be an S as well. So as you can see, our format is the time, then the level name, file name, and line number of where this was logged, and finally, the message that we logged. The date format, that's what this argument is for, is what format you want to print your dates in. %D, %M, %Y is going to be date, month, and year as 4 digits, and then %H, %M, %S is going to give you hours, minutes, and seconds. So I think this is pretty good accuracy there. The level is going to be logging.debug as a start, and then we can turn it down to info or even to warning if we want. And finally, if you pass in a file name here like logs.txt, then it's just going to write all your logs to that file instead of showing them on the console. So this is normally a good idea. Then we're going to get a logger. So we're going to say logger. No, cannot type. Logger equals logging.getLogger. And we're going to get our base logger, which is going to be called scraping. Okay. So in app.py, the logger is going to be called scraping. And as soon as you do get logger and you pass in the name, the logging module is going to create a logger in the background. In any other file, when you pass in the same name, it's going to get the same logger. So there's only one instance of a logger at any given time. This is, in case you're interested, an example of a singleton pattern in software development. This is an implementation of a singleton. If you don't know what a singleton is, don't worry. We're going to look into that much later on in the course. Okay, then we can start logging using this logger. So what can we log at line 13? Well, whenever we import something from app, we're going to run through these lines of code, then start getting the books, and then finally iterate over all the pages and get all the books in each page. What we can start logging here is that we are about to load the books list. Loading books list. By the way, my typos are generally caused by me having a microphone on my face and not being able to see my keyboard at all. So I apologize for any typos. So what we're saying here is we're loading the books list, and that's what's going to appear in our logs when we run this. Let's run the menu again. It's going to go through all of this stuff. It's going through, well, it has already gone through line 13. And it's now loaded everything. We can see, for example, the best books, and we can exit. Then you get here logs.txt. So let me open that up. You can see that this contains quite a lot of stuff. one info message at the top, are saying app.py line 13, loading books list. And then it's got a bunch of debug messages. These debug messages are not added by us. They were printed out by another library that prints out debug messages, and that's the requests library. So here it just says starting a new HTTP connection to books.toscrape.com, and then it's starting another one to books.toscrape.com, but now it's trying to get catalog/page2-html, and so forth, page 3, 4, 5, and so forth, up all the way up to 50. And as you can see, you also get the response. So that's the code 200. That means all is good. So these logs here tell you that all your requests to the page succeeded because they're all code 200. So this is good. If you don't want to see these messages because you're not interested in such a low-level operation of your application, all you have to do is turn the level up to info, and then they will disappear. Okay? So if you're showing a debug message that is only for when you're developing and you want to know exactly what's going on, use debug. If you want to give some information that is not needed, use info. And of course, if you want to talk about warnings and errors and criticals and so forth, use those levels. But normally you'll be using debug info at this level. Okay. For example, we could put a debug message here, logger.debug, creating all books